Hello and welcome to our Journey to Happy podcast, podcast dedicated to help men and women all over the world to make healthier choices, mentally and physically. I am Olga, your host, and today I am here to talk about food and how food influences our energy. I have an amazing guest who's Ottawa-based. Her name is Patricia Boisvert. I may have said that totally wrong, but
Perfect.
I apologize. I'm working on my French still. So Patricia is an Ottawa-based holistic health and nutrition coach who is passionate about helping busy women increase their energy and improve their mood. Patricia believes that small and consistent changes over time can make a huge impact for women dealing with fatigue and mood swings. Her approach focuses on the person as a whole and helps them establish healthy daily routines for optimal vitality and joy. To connect with Patricia, you can visit her website at www.wellnesswithpatricia.ca. Patricia, thank you so much for accepting my invitation and for taking time to be here with us during these difficult times of COVID-19 taking over all of our schedules. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I have promised my audience that I was going to bring some guests over for however long we're in quarantine to do both, not just the audio, but the video, so that I can play the videos on Facebook. If you're listening to this recording and you want to see what we look like, you can jump into my Facebook page at Olga's Way, and you'll be able to see these happening in video. Otherwise, you stick to my podcast, and don't forget to let us know what you thought, what you like, what you didn't. Your feedback makes this podcast better. So I appreciate you and your feedback. So Patricia, I have to begin by asking you, what brought you, like you were just saying before we start recording, that you are an accountant.
That's my day job. Yep.
And you work full-time as an accountant.
Yeah.
What brought you into nutrition coaching? What was it for you that you decided, hold on, accounting is interesting, but I'm going to do something else at the same time?
Yeah. So I would say about 5 years ago, I was starting to notice that I was very fatigued and I was having all these mood swings. And I was also having these really scary, like heart palpitations. My heart would just race a mile a minute and would last like 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. And so I went to see my family doctor. And she said, well, the heart thing, it's not dangerous. You'll be fine. There's not much you can do about it. And for your fatigue and your mood, well, you're inching on 40. And so it's hormones. So we can put you on the pill and that'll help. And I kind of felt like, well, I don't need to be on the pill for birth control reasons. That seemed like a Band-Aid solution. So I started just on my own doing some research, reading a bunch of books and listening to podcasts, and slowly making some changes. And I started to see changes in my energy and in my mood. And I stopped having the heart palpitations. And I thought, well, like, why don't more people know about the power of food and lifestyle changes? So I started to, just something inside me was like, just keep going. So I found an online school where I could study part-time to get my certification as a nutrition and health counselor. So I did that and graduated last year. And from there, Wellness with Patricia was born.
That's amazing. So congratulations on two accounts. One, taking your health seriously. Understanding a doctor can give their medical opinion, but then we have the power to decide whether or not that matches with what we want. But
That's
then congratulations for going out of your way to study something that you are passionate about. Getting rid of excuses to just do something that's good for you and that's going to benefit all of us. So thank you so much for that. That's a really amazing thing. So I find that for most people like yourself and myself, we become passionate about the things that we have overcome or that we have struggled with. And I certainly have interviewed different people throughout this podcast where that's true. Their greatest motivation to do what they're now doing came from a personal struggle. What was that like for you, that shift from like being this woman who has heart palpitations, which by the way, many of my clients do, and they're also attributed to hormones. And, you know, many of them are highly medicated on all kinds of like heart, or not heart, but anxiety medication.
Yes.
Or hormone medication like the pill. What was
Yeah.
that like for you, that switch and that empowerment? What gave you the empowerment to say like, hold on, maybe I can do something about it?
I just felt like, you know, I had been on medication before, and, you know, for some people that is required. That is definitely, I'm not saying that medication doesn't work and isn't an option. I just wanted to try something else first. And so starting to do some of this research and implementing these changes slowly in my life and seeing the changes. And then, you know, I would talk to my mom and my sister about like, oh, I'm trying this and I really feel different. And then in some cases they would then try to implement these little changes as well. And just to see that I could then help other people potentially, you know, find better ways of living their lives and feeling more joyful. That was important to me. I think generally speaking, as women, and even if you're not a mom, women in general tend to be givers, and we tend to put ourselves last.
Oh yeah.
So my kids were older and I felt like I had more time to devote to myself. And I just think that's something everybody should take the opportunity to do.
That's awesome. So you're a mom of how many?
2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
So they keep you busy, or they've been keeping you busy up to them?
Yeah, they're not they're not toddlers. And so, you know, in this whole like self-distancing thing, they're 11 and 13. So, you know, they're definitely self-sufficient. So it hasn't been overwhelming. I know that there are some moms out there who are completely overwhelmed with manage the household and the kids and possibly working from home. So I'm lucky that that's not too stressful right now, but yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I wanted to dive into your approach, because something that you mentioned is that you believe in small changes having a huge impact. And in my personal experience, for me, but also what I've seen with my clients, when we are determined to do something, most people are black or white. They either jump in like all in, or they don't do anything at all, right? So I hear people say, I'm going to start a diet once the vacation's over, or I'm going to start once all the conditions are great, the diet, or eating healthy, or going to yoga, you know, depending on what the goal is. Until then, I'm not going to start, because I don't know that I have the perfect scenario. And like you, I believe in small steps are far more manageable than a full-on 100% investment. So in my experience, people end up being discouraged long-term when they have just jumped in full force. What's your thinking about these small changes, huge impact when it comes to food, diet, and energy, and improving their mood?
Yeah, so I think, like you said, a lot of people say, you know, Monday I'm going on a diet and I'm never going to eat French fries or cupcakes again. And that's just not realistic. You know, like I eat those things and I can manage very well. My energy is not impacted. So like you said, it's small changes, and it's about adding things as opposed to removing things, in my opinion. So don't tell yourself that you will never have chocolate again if that's something that you love enjoying. Rather, I would say, and the big one is add more vegetables. Like half to even more than half your plate should be vegetables at every meal. And by adding more of that, you're crowding out some of the other things that you may want to not remove, but reduce in your diet that could be impacting your energy. But because of the fiber and all the benefits of eating the vegetables, you won't feel deprived. It'll help keep you fuller longer. And just, I mean, vegetables they're full of phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals that your body needs to operate optimally. And so, you know, when it comes to nutrition, that's always my first recommendation, is just add in those vegetables, have them at breakfast. Like you can add them to, if you're a smoothie person, You know, a lot of people know about green smoothies where you add spinach or leafy greens, but consider also like steaming and freezing zucchini and cauliflower and even broccoli, and you can add that to a smoothie. You will not taste the difference, but it'll add a nice creamy texture, and you're getting those extra vegetables in at breakfast.
So why did you say steam and then freeze?
It just adds, it's easier to digest when you've steamed, especially like cauliflower and broccoli. It can be a bit more difficult to digest raw. So steaming it helps with that.
Okay. So that's a game changer, I find, to add vegetables to the breakfast. I am personally intolerant to everything that a regular breakfast is supposed to, the traditional way of breakfast is supposed to have. So I remember the first time my nutritionist suggested that I had vegetables and meat for breakfast, and I thought he was insane. I'm like, you cannot be serious. But I can personally say that that was a game changer for me, because I was then getting exactly what I needed, as opposed to a whole bunch of gluten-free carbs that were, or not enough food. That was my problem. I wasn't having much of what I could have. So I can maybe feel the resistance that some of the listeners may have to add vegetables other than add a smoothie. Any suggestions you have other than adding them as a smoothie? I'm not a smoothie person, so what would you suggest for somebody like
you know, you can have like eggs with some vegetables on the side. Like even it can be like raw carrots and cucumber with a couple hard-boiled eggs. That's kind of easy. You can also add to your oatmeal. So you can shred zucchini or carrots, or even some riced cauliflower. You can add that to some oatmeal, just a little bit. And again, it'll blend in with whatever flavors you have for your oatmeal. And you won't know that they're in there. What else can you do? I mean, we have to stop thinking about breakfast food as being different than lunch and dinner foods. Like this morning, I had a salad with I had strawberries on there, and I had a hard-boiled egg, and I added a bit of granola on top. But I mean, I had a ton of vegetables in there. So if you have leftover spaghetti, you can have spaghetti for breakfast. It doesn't have to be traditional toast and muffins and whatever else.
And I think that's where the mindset has to come into place, because for me, that was the hardest thing to let go. Like, I'm allergic to eggs, like as bad as I am with dairy. So, and oatmeal. So like for me, my idea of what breakfast was supposed to be and what I had for breakfast my entire life had to change drastically. I really hope that most people who are listening to this at least are not allergic to eggs, so they can add, like I used to add tons of spinach to my eggs. Make an omelet. But I do think it was my biggest struggle, and I do think that you're absolutely right. The best thing to do is to think of breakfast as no different than lunch or supper, and then wrap your head around all I need is, to enjoy the meal. So whatever favorite foods you have that you like for breakfast, for lunch and supper. But anything else that you have sorry, I know I cut you off, so you were saying something else.
Another breakfast that I like to make sometimes on the weekends, and then I'll just make extra for the week to take to work when I used to go to work other than my table, is like a hash. So whatever vegetables you have, sweet potatoes, zucchini, peppers, carrots, whatever, you can cut those up and then saute those with, I mean, you could add eggs, but if you're looking for another alternative, you could add ground turkey, ground chicken, ground beef. You can cut up some sausage and put that in there, and then top it with more greens and let those kind of steam in. That's going to be very filling, and you won't be hungry until lunch again.
Yeah, casseroles actually are my go-to in the mornings. I love to make them. So what do you think in your experience, obviously professionally, but also as a woman who went through that shift of not having energy, changing food, having more energy? By the way, did the heart palpitations go?
Oh, totally. I haven't had any since it's been 4 years now.
Incredible. So what do you attribute that to? Like, what part of your food or your nutrition made that change in the heart specifically, you think?
I definitely think it was a combination of mindset and working on anxiety and some of that, as well as cutting out caffeine for me has been big. I know that if I have a cup of coffee, I will likely have that issue again. Alcohol can also be a trigger. So, I mean, I do have the odd glass of wine, but, you know, I don't, not that I was a huge drinker before, but, you know, it was more of a every weekend, have a few drinks here and there. And now that's not as often. So I think that definitely those have been
two things, yes. And both of those foods are known to cause anxiety generally.
exactly.
And I think it begins with the heart palpitations, so people worry, then the mind gets onto like, what's going on? So that makes a lot of sense.
Because it's scary when that starts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That symptoms can be anxiety triggering for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the woman's biggest obstacle to aligning their food eating with their goals of wanting to be healthy and energetic and, you know, able to do it all, as most of us are? We all have, I think, commonly we have those goals where we want to do as much as we can and be A plus, you know, A plus wives, A plus moms, professionals, friends, daughters. We just want to get a good handle, and if we were all really fair to ourselves, I think that we would realize that we already are A plus, but sometimes we don't really align our actions with our goals. So I have clients, and I've done it myself. Like recently, I just posted a photo of myself where I'm like, look at my body. And I have this goal of wanting to be fit, but I'm doing absolutely nothing to get there. So what do you think is the biggest obstacle of alignment of those goals with our actions for food intake?
So speaking as a mom, I know for me initially, and I hear this from a lot of women as well, is if I change how I eat, that impacts my family. If I decide that I am not eating, so for me personally, I know that pasta doesn't always sit well with me. So if my family wants to have lasagna, then you know, that kind of can be an obstacle where I'm like, well, I don't really want to have it, or I want to have a variation of a lasagna, but they're not going to want to eat that. And so it seems overwhelming to think, well, now I have to cook 2 different meals. I might as well just give up. I might as well wait until the kids are out of the house and then I can just focus on myself. So I think it's about realizing that you are worth it. It's important for you to show the example that, you know, I don't feel well when I eat certain things. I want to try and make my life better. I want to have more energy so that I can be a better mom, a better wife, just feel better for myself. So that it's important to take that time and to make those changes. And it doesn't have to be a whole drastic thing overnight. You know, like I said, it can be just adding little things. So going back to the lasagna example, it's easy to make, you know, like you make the regular lasagna and you keep some of the sauce for the side and maybe you use like butternut squash as noodles. It doesn't take that much longer. You're already kind of in the whole prep section. So it's kind of like thinking outside of the box in terms of how can I alternate this to make it something that I can enjoy eating.
Yeah, I have personally had to do that because I've got the most intolerances that anybody in my family has. And not only do I have the intolerances, I actually respond almost immediately to these foods, right? So it's easy for me to stay off these foods because I react to them so quickly and not in a favorable way. And I think that that's exactly what's helped me the most, is to not let my mind play tricks on me of like, oh, well, I'm just gonna, you know, it is hard. And initially you just have to get past that initial bump of like, there's so much effort. It feels like a lot of effort. But once your body starts responding to that alignment, I think it starts paying off and you want to do it. And it's just being creative. And I like to remind everybody that our brains are incredibly resourceful. And when we make statements like, I can't, it's hard, it's not fair, your brain looks for evidence to prove that you're right in that thinking. So it limits your thinking and you don't see possibilities. So if your husband doesn't agree with the diet, if they criticize it, if your friends think it's silly, if you have this perception about the gluten-free people and you don't want to be one of them, just notice your own thinkings and your own blockages in your mind that don't allow you to see opportunities, because I think that that was for sure one of my biggest obstacles. And I don't know, for you guys listening, what you already identified as being one of your obstacles, I would encourage you to bring on your mindset to it. So if you already know that your biggest obstacle is going to visit grandma because she always has lots of, sugar food, how can you prep yourself prior to going there, where you have the ability to say, no, I don't eat sugar, or I'm going to be on a full stomach so that when I get there, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So mindset, I think, is key, right, to overcome those obstacles.
Absolutely.
All right. So this is totally like my experience. Once a month for sure, I can tell what time of the month it is, because I will get out of my way to find sugar, mostly chocolate, to be honest. Like I crave chocolate like there's no tomorrow. And it could be totally inconvenient to go find this chocolate, but I cannot get enough of it. What can you tell me about cravings, and how can we best overcome these cravings? Because I'm guessing sugar steals energy.
For sure.
Right? Like we think that I go to sugar when I'm tired, but I think I feel much tired after. So I've decided that, or I've concluded that sugar steals my energy. What do you suggest for women who, like me, have cravings, maybe more than once a month, for chocolate?
So I would say cravings around your cycle is 100%. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't go through this. So I'll give you a little example of the blood sugar and how that impacts your cravings and your energy. So most people have had that experience where 3 o'clock hits, your energy tanks. So what do? You grab a cookie or a muffin or a chocolate bar, because that's the quick fix that you're looking for in terms of energy. Because you're right, sugar gives you energy. So what happens is your blood sugar, anytime you eat, your blood sugar will rise slightly. If you are eating a lot of sugar or a lot of refined carbs, your blood sugar will spike a lot higher. So let's say your energy we're on a podcast, so I can't use my hands, but your blood sugar will spike a lot higher. So then your pancreas hears that and says, oh, we need to get this blood sugar regulated. So it sends insulin into your bloodstream to bring your blood sugar down. But what happens is it sends so much, because it's so sensitive, that then your blood sugar ends up dropping below what would be normal. And that's where you then have this energy crash again. So then what do? Well, your body's going to say, I need more energy. So it craves more sugar. So you go and get a Diet Coke or another chocolate bar or a donut. And then the cycle starts over and over again. So then you're on this like blood sugar craving roller coaster that seems like you just can't get out of.
So sugar is addictive, right?
It's absolutely. There's been research showing that it's just as addictive as certain hard drugs.
Yeah.
I
believe it. And then so hormones will have an impact on these cravings.
For sure.
So, but we already know that. We already know this happens, right? Like we already know, okay, my body is going through this transition, so I may be more likely to crave something. What do I do then?
So if you're tracking your cycle and you know that it's coming, what you can do is like 4 or 5 days before the day of your period, you can actually try to focus on eating more of those clean carbohydrates. So having more like squash and sweet potato and beets and, like rice and quinoa, depending on what you can tolerate, having more of those carbohydrates in your system will kind of help curb some of those cravings. But also I would say, like, I have dark chocolate probably almost every day. So make sure you have some around, some nice dark chocolate. And when those cravings hit, like, have some. It's okay. Your body is naturally looking for more energy because it's preparing for that release that happens when you are menstruating. And so it is burning more calories and it is needing to have a little bit more carbohydrates to do that. So it's normal, but we are telling ourselves, well, it's a craving, I shouldn't have it, it's bad for me. And then because you're stopping yourself from doing it, then you end up overdoing it because you're telling yourself, no, And then you end up in the pantry and, I'll have a little bit. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I feel guilty. Well, I'll just have more. It's a cycle, right? But just understanding that it's normal. You can give your body more carbohydrates in that week leading up to your period, and that can definitely help. And just move on. I mean, if you have the chocolate, it's okay.
Yeah, no guilt.
No.
So for a diet that is balancing my blood sugar, like what does that look like? What do I need to know to be able to stabilize my sugar so I don't get into this cycle where I eat and then I need sugar and 3 o'clock hits and I'm like, sugar.
Yeah. So you need to remember 3 things: protein, fat, fiber. At every meal, and if you're having snacks, make sure your snacks have these as well. You want protein, fat, and fiber at every meal. So if you picture a plate, you want to have like at least half of your plate being non-starchy vegetables. So that would be leafy greens, it could be cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, green beans, that whole thing. And then a quarter of your plate would be your protein. So it could be plant-based, animal-based. That would be about a quarter of your plate. And then the other quarter would be the carbohydrates. So it could be sweet potato, it could be rice, it could be squash. And then you also want to make sure you're including fats. So I think we've been brainwashed, and things are turning around, but into thinking that fat is bad for you. Fat is what keeps you full. Fat makes food taste better. And in fact, it helps your body absorb the minerals from the vegetables easier. So don't be afraid to add a bit of butter or ghee if you don't do dairy. You could do some olive oil. You could do half to a quarter of an avocado. So all of those components will help stabilize your energy throughout the day. It'll keep you satiated throughout the day because you're including a lot of fiber from the vegetables and the carbohydrates. The protein also keeps you full. So that should definitely level things out. And I'm not saying that at 3 o'clock you can't have a snack. Like most people, if you're having lunch around noon, if you're not having dinner until 6, that's a long stretch to not eat. So definitely include a snack, but try and have something that has protein and fiber. So that, again, your blood sugar and your energy will stay stable.
Can you give me one quick example of what a snack with protein and fiber would be?
An apple with nut butter is one of my favorites.
Me too.
Celery with nut butter is good. You could do hummus and vegetables. You could do some cheese and grapes. Even like, rolled up deli meat with some vegetables.
That sounds delicious, all of those options. Something I've been listening to quite a bit from people since we're staying home is anxious eating or boredom eating. I think, again, you would be saying then to add these 3 elements to whatever you're eating as much as possible. Do you have any other suggestions for anxious eaters out there?
Yeah, so definitely, so blood sugar will not help you deal with emotional eating. Because usually when you are eating out of emotions, it's not because you're hungry. It's because you are not wanting to deal with those emotions. So if you're finding yourself standing in front of your fridge or pantry, looking for whatever, like take a step back, and it's not easy, but try and just remove yourself from the kitchen and think to yourself, am I actually hungry? And if you are, perfect, have a snack. If you're not, try and find something. Well, ask yourself, first of all, what do I need? Like, am I bored? Do I need to find something to do? Then maybe you can go for a walk, talk to a friend, call someone, make a, meal prep some food, just try and think of something to keep you occupied, to get you out of that boredom. If you're eating because you're stressed and anxious because of the situation right now, again, talking to someone can really help. Journaling has been really good for me and a lot of people I know. Just journaling out what it is you're feeling. The reality is, though, that food is a source of comfort. And so, it's okay if you go through these exercises. So let's say you're bored or you're anxious and you kind of step away for a few minutes, keep yourself busy, but you keep thinking back to, well, I kind of really want to have whatever it is, that cookie. It's okay to have the cookie. But what I would recommend is sit down and take a breath and enjoy it. Don't just like scarf it down and hiding in the pantry so your kids don't see you eating it. Like really enjoy every moment. Don't like watch TV while eating or scroll your phone. Like just really focus on the cookie
Eating.
and you'll enjoy it a lot better.
I'm gonna add to this because it's such a great reminder to be mindful. I have done it myself. Like I'm walking around, I'm like, what do I eat? And I'm opening and like, you know, you're not hungry when you, well, I know I'm not hungry when I can't find quite the thing that I want to eat, you know, I'm just looking and like, it seems like I'm just looking. And so one of my mentors used to, no, actually this, I read this in a book of mindfulness where this monk is with his student and the student is desperately looking for the knife in the kitchen. He's cooking and he's looking for the knife. And the monk asks the student, what are you looking for? And he says, the knife. So he keeps looking. And then the monk asks again, what are you looking for? And this guy's like, the knife. I can't find the knife. And so the story goes on and on where this monk repeats the question till finally the student says, okay, there's got to be more to this question. Like, can you give me the answer? What am I looking for? And so the monk says, let's say the student's name was John. John is looking for John. And so stop and catch your breath. And so in that moment, this guy, the student stops, catches his breath, and then he finds himself, and the knife had been in front of him all along. So that's kind of like the analogy I use for anxious eating or boredom eating myself and many other things. But what am I looking for? You ask the question, what do I need? Ask yourself, what do I need right now? Because, you know, we have many needs that are being unmet right now. So it's just asking, what do we need? And then trying to address that as opposed of putting the Band-Aid where we think it's needed and it's not. So, and then I love the suggestion of mindful eating. If you are hungry, if you are going to indulge in a chocolate chip cookie or in the muffins you baked, sit down, smell that, feel the texture, enjoy the flavors, try to figure it out and pick up the taste of each flavor. That's mindful eating. And what it does, I will leave it up to you. You have to try it and then you tell me what it does to you to eat in a mindful way. But it's definitely life-changing to do both of those things. And it will ease the anxiety, period. So if what you're doing actually is eating, that's definitely going to go down. Yeah. So I've had you for a while now here, Patricia. I don't really want to take a lot out of your time, but I'm looking at my list of questions. Okay, so I'll ask you two more tips for craving, for handling that sugar crave and that alcohol crave, because many of us are using these two things as ways of coping with stress, right? So I feel stressed out, so I'm eating my entire house, sugar and all, especially sugar, we already said it's addictive. And then you were saying your slowdown of drinking that casual glass of wine has made a huge difference in how you feel. But some people might be craving that glass of wine, you know, that was their go-to after a stressful day at work. Now we see a lot of jokes going on social media, moms pouring wine into a cereal bowl because they're like overwhelmed dealing with all the new tasks they have to do. Any suggestions to cut those cravings of alcohol and sugar?
I would say make sure that you're well hydrated. Definitely if you are dehydrated, I mean, our bodies are mostly made of water. And sometimes when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. So make sure you're drinking, like a good benchmark would be half of your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh, let's say 150 pounds, that would be 75 ounces of water. That's like a little over 2 liters. That will definitely help with that feeling of fullness and not feeling as hungry. And same goes with the wine, right? I mean, you're not drinking wine because you're hungry. It's just kind of a nice, relaxing way to end the day. And that's okay. But be mindful of whether that is now turning into 2 glasses or 3 glasses. I was listening to a podcast yesterday that talked about how quickly habits can set in. And, you know, initially when we were told, well, you have to stay home, we didn't quite know how long it was going to be. And so people were like, while this is happening, I'll just have 2 glasses of wine. I don't have to get up tomorrow morning as early. That's right. And that can now turn into 3. But pretty soon that will be a habit because we're going to be in this situation for a bit longer than we expected. So when you come out of this, is that really how you want your life to look? Is you now having 3 glasses of wine at the end of the day?
Such a
right?
great point. Such a great point. I just came back yesterday from my cottage for having been there for 3 weeks, and I brought my 6-month-old baby. He's turning six. He turned 6 today.
Oh.
Into our home, and I noticed that he was shockingly looking around our home, like, where am I? And when I brought him into his bedroom, he was holding on to my shirt, like, don't put me down anywhere. I don't know this place. He's looking around, and in that exact thought came to my mind, oh my God, 3 weeks is a lot of time to set into our routines. And what's our normal, what used to be our normal might not be, but we create a new normal. And it takes conditioning, and it takes really be thoughtful of what we want to feel after this is done. This is not a vacation. This is a life circumstance that we have no idea how long it's going to be. And I so encourage people to think of the habits that you may be creating now for you, for your children, but especially for you more than anything. So that's a great point.
Yeah.
I'm happy to report that he was very happy playing in his bedroom today and rediscovering his toys. But yeah, that was an interesting observation. My last question to you is, how do you support women make these dietary changes? What do you do? Like, if I call you today and say, Patricia, I need help. I've got baby weight to lose. What's your approach? How will you help me?
So first, we have a quick interview to make sure that we're a good fit to work together, because everyone has different styles. And once, if we decide, okay, we're a good fit, then I have a questionnaire that I send people that goes through kind of health history, your goals, your struggles. I also ask people to fill out like a 3-day sample of what you're eating to give me an idea of where we could make some changes.
Are people honest with those logs that they sent you?
Some are. I find people that are very motivated to change will be very honest, and people that are kind of on the fence will leave out a few things. And eventually those things will come out, because as we work together, if we're not reaching those goals, I'll be like, well, what are you not telling me?
Yeah.
So then I take this information along with the goals of the client, and then I come up with a plan of some lifestyle recommendations. And again, it's not going to be a laundry list of things to work on. It'll be like 3 to 5 things to begin with. And it'll include a meal plan as well, with recipes and things to give people an idea of what kind of things they could be eating. Sometimes, like you said, we're so used to our toast and peanut butter for breakfast, we can't even think about what else we could be eating. So it gives people some ideas. Again, it's not restrictive. You don't have to follow the plan to the letter. It's just about making small changes. And then we meet regularly, either through Zoom or in person, and just see how things are going and reevaluate and determine what's working, what's not, and go from there. That's
amazing. So before we start recording, you were telling me that you have a new giveaway to people who join your website, who go to your website and join your newsletter.
That's right.
Do you want to talk a little bit? Because I think that's very important for people to know what you're giving away.
Yeah, so right now, it's not shown on my website anywhere, but people who subscribe do get a 7-day meal plan that is exclusively non-perishable foods. Most of us are trying to stick to grocery shopping once a week, maybe even twice a week. And so if you're buying fresh foods, those aren't going to last you into week 2. So this can give you some ideas of recipes to include that use things like legumes, grains, rice, oatmeal, those kinds of things. So, it's for some people it's not new, but for other people, they're so used to cooking with fresh vegetables or proteins that this isn't something that they're used to.
Yeah. So that's great, because I have no idea how to use anything that's in those cans unless it's something that, I eat on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a great, again, it's just resources for people to not feel stuck in the same foods, and like being able to use some of what we've bought that's in cans.
Yeah.
Patricia, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with this audience?
No, I think we had a great conversation. I'm hoping that people will have some takeaways from this, especially right now. I know it's a difficult time for many people being stuck at home. So I'm hoping that they found some little golden nuggets.
I do too. Thank you so very much, Patricia, for taking the time to talking to me and sharing your knowledge with my audience. I really, really appreciate it. I think that in especially difficult times like now, we all need to
Mhm.
hear information that's opening our eyes to other things. And
Mhm.
anything related to self-care and self-love is something that I'm very passionate to helping people with. So thank you for taking your time, volunteering your knowledge into, putting these sources out there. I encourage all of you to follow Patricia at Wellness with Patricia on Instagram. That's your handle.
Thank you. Yep, that's right.
As well as visiting her website for good information and to get that 7-day meal plan. Don't forget, you have to sign up for her website. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening today. Let us know by writing a review what you thought of this. And if you are jumping onto my Facebook and viewing this video, in the comments below, you can ask us any questions. Both Patricia and I can look into your questions and do any follow-ups needed. From my heart to yours, Patricia, thank you so much. And
Thank you very much.